Hey everyone, welcome back to Crypto Cash. Thank you so much for joining me here. Hope you're having a phenomenal day and wonderful weekend. Let's take another look here at Solana, see what's going on. As per usual, hit that like button, folks, before we get started. We can see quick liquidation range, resistance range, that area of what 120 to 130 is a close approximate, has been fully swept. So there's that, but also we need to treat it like a new support if we were to close above that here soon. So important things to recognize when you break through a resistance is to recognize that it's a good likelihood that that's going to be the new bottom moving forward, and that we just kind of got to be mindful that we may not be in a position where the price action is going to pull back significantly now that we've broken that threshold. However, profit taking needs to happen, right? So let me take a look at this here. We went from 108 to 131 without very little correction, a small period of consolidation. So those are things I like to, kind of just give you a heads up on. I did send out a trade alert, of course, for our Bitcoin. I'm considering a short in the 85 to 86K range. AVAX profits 38%, 62% for Solana, and 41% for Bitcoin. So I hit some nice profits this weekend and late in the week, of course, with some longs that we took through the week. But at this point, we want to kind of see if Solana's worth, shorting, because I've been talking about shorting the 130 level for a while now, because it's just a heavy area of confluence. And now that we have all this liquidation that's fully swept, there's not a ton of momentum, there is good momentum. There's just not a lot of merit to driving the price action much higher, because market makers right now are like, okay, well, we can go a little higher, but we got to take profits soon because this is a weekend. 13 out of 14 weekends this year, we have sold our shirts off. So there's that. We also got to recognize, though, too, folks, we're kind of sort of breaking descending trend lines. At least with Bitcoin, I think we are roughly in that same scenario here with Solana, and that could shift the paradigm to more bullish sentiment. Okay, just try not to fall for like being a breakout trader here at this point. I think taking a long at 130 inherently is riskier, even though everything's mostly bullish. Sounds kind of weird, but roll with me here. Liquidation delta, first of all, we're looking at 2 billion in liquidation delta, getting closer to that local shelf. Bitcoin is hitting that 15 billion liquidation range. And generally speaking, when you see that, the likelihood of further downside is higher based on the simple sentiment that it's overextended. There's too much liquidation in one direction, and what goes up must come down. It's kind of one of those things. Okay. So having said that, though, you got to recognize if you consider shorting Solana, there's a lot of open interest below the price action in the 120 to 115 range. Therefore, implying that if you're going to short to the ground floor, you're going to try to short to 100 or lower, it's a really bad idea. It's very stupid. Okay. Just simply to state, we have too much support between now and then, it would be ridiculous to try to short too far and get too greedy. This is not a greedy market, folks, even though we're more fear-based in the overall sense. Market makers are greedy. We can't be greedy. We have to take profits when we can, because they're going to just manipulate the hell out of this here whenever they see fit. Okay, so please understand that. Having said that, though, in the daily time frame, let's quickly recognize this descending trend. I don't have my trend line pulled up, but the easy way to identify is the SMAs, and we can recognize we're above the 20, which is at $123 threshold. We talked about that yesterday being an important level to close above. And now that we're above that, we can see 132 is that tentative resistance based on that 50-day SMA. So we haven't broken free from this descending trend line officially. Bitcoin is exuding very similar behaviors. While it's tentatively above its 20 and 50-day SMA, today's candlestick hasn't closed, and it's a weekend that's been notoriously terrible long weekends for most people. Okay, so just kind of some friendly advice. Careful taking along at the top, but you can see here that we're trying and retesting, this 50 in the RSI. We haven't been above that. Same thing with Bitcoin as well since February 2nd. So generally speaking, we're seeing this paradigm shift. There's decent chance we may stabilize here and continue higher. But the odds are fairly low just based on how this year has treated us so far. We have seen terrible weekends, and I'm not sold or convinced that a small little breakout above a short a descending trend line is enough to warrant a high risk long position at this point. I mean, most markets are fairly green today, therefore reinforcing the likelihood of further downside based on that simple sentiment. We've also got like a notification here kind of letting us know we have our moving average price percentile is kind of giving us a sell signal. Generally speaking, it's pretty consistent on the 4-hour time frame, letting us know that reversal's pending, right? It's coming. Having said that, TD sequential, we're at a 9+2, so we've been moving for that's 36, 44 hours in the same direction without consolidation and or retracement. That's too much of a good thing. Okay, so I think the likelihood of pulling back here for Solana is just greater. It's probably not going to be a monumental pullback though, folks. I think the low 120s is probably a better case scenario at this point. All right, so that's just kind of my rough estimate, my thoughts there. Majority of indications are super bullish on smaller timeframes. Macro is breaking bullish, so you do got to recognize from a technical standpoint, this is usually like a you should go long on this coin kind of situation. I just think temporarily we're more likely to see the local high retested here in the 118 to 120 range. And it would make sense for the price to kind of do one of these, or possibly even a little manipulation here, or we get a power 3 where we get consolidation, manipulation, and then an expansive wave. Once more, strictly hypothetical for the moment, just letting you know these are things that happen all the time in crypto. So for the most part, from right now, it's recommended to probably just not trade at all. That's probably the best recommendation right now, considering we're close to the top. And honestly, shorting coins right now does carry more risk because everything's fully bullish, right? But you got the caveat here of statistically terrible weekends this entire year. And you've also got the fact that what goes up must come down. Local highs have not been retested as new lows yet. There's that as well. So me personally, a tight short to the low 120s seems like a sensible call at this point, but that's just me personally. I usually don't like to short into this kind of behavior, but we have a lot of resistance at the 130 range too, folks. Again, a lot of local highs, key fib levels here as well. So I just think there's a decent chance or probability that we do pull back, at least on the short term. Okay, it may not happen today. We might just get one more leg up before tomorrow, but for the most part, I think we're going to have to come down at some point before we take off again. Okay, cool. So that's kind of what I got there. I know it sounds circular, and if you watch the whole video, you'll probably understand what I'm trying to get at. If you fast forward to the end, you're probably going to be like, "What the hell's wrong with this guy?" But it's joke's on you, really, honestly. Either way, thanks again so much for watching. Don't forget to like, comment, send some recommendations on whatever coins you want me to cover. I'll keep the shorts coming, and if you want to join us on Twitter, Telegram, and Discord, it's all available for you there. Okay. All right, folks. Appreciate your time. We'll look forward to seeing the next one. Thanks again. We'll see you again. Take care.